everyone. Welcome to this Monday Musings, this Monday video. Oh my goodness, it's so wonderful to see you all. Let me just get my camera straight. Oh, it's wonderful to be here with you all. Thank you for joining me. I really love these Monday videos where we get to just open up a particular topic and just connect over it. Just, you know, just share and connect. And I do love reading your comments, so thank you to everyone who stops by to say hello and who shares their experiences and their nuggets of wisdom too. There is not one great teacher in this world. We are all brothers and sisters of the divine and of the earth, and that's really what I want to share, what I want to talk about today. I do just want to give a little thank you to everyone who came on Tuesday to Tim and I, our event. It was really beautiful, very sacred and very humbling for Tim and I to see and feel you all there, so thank you so much. And I'll see some of you soon on the 14th for the workshop with Emma Sullivan, where we are discovering your superpower through your sensitivity. And maybe even on the 28th as I run the mystery of your life force energy. But let's get to what we want to talk about today. Sisterhood, brotherhood, the coming together with one another in love, in common goals, in common unity, community. It's so interesting, isn't it? Because because in this world, and especially for you watching this video, you know, there will be a common goal that we all have. This collective, what some are calling ascension, what some call awakening, remembrance, finding your truth, your bliss, your joy, really just living true to your heart. And it's an interesting when I say it like this, because we are in an age and we're in a time where there is a lot of imprints, a lot of trauma, a lot of things that we are unlearning, things that cause us to react or speak or do something because we actually aren't fully masterful yet of our energy, and it takes courage and confidence to connect. And I want to talk about that a little bit, if you're here to witness and listen. Because it's interesting, we have within us, as you'll have heard me say a few times, the masculine and the feminine. And they both dance and flow and create sacred union with one another within. We have the above and we have the below, and we have the bridge in between. That is us. We all come from one family tree. Whether we look at ourselves as sparks of the divine source energy, we are all sparks of source energy, having a unique experience. And the beauty of such is that if we can recognize that we come from source, that we are source, and that everyone else is the same, they come from source, then we all come from the same place. We are all one already, above. And then below, on the physical realm, our bodies are made up of the earth. Our bodies are made up of the earth. Our bodies are made up of the elements of this physicality. As above, so below, and we're right here in the middle, bridging the gap. We all are fruits of that sacred tree of life. Yet it's easy in this day and age to forget as such, to forget the bigger picture, to forget how how to let the heart lead. We're all remembering, and it requires courage. It requires strength of heart. It requires patience and grace and compassion, knowing that, or choosing to know, choosing with all your heart to know that unless someone is speaking with free, open energy, with love, alignment, true unity, unless they're speaking from that place, then it is simply illusion. And why is this important? Well, we are needing to rebirth, and it is going to happen either way. And there are many initiations occurring right now, many experiences occurring right now, which have occurred for lifetimes. They've occurred throughout each and every one of our lifetimes in some way. And this initiation is based off limitation, it's based off absence of love. It shows up as competition, it shows up as jealousy, it shows up as separation, it shows up as fighting, it shows up as many things that just do not serve. Yet every time we have one of those experiences, we are given the opportunity to go deeper into our heart than ever before. And we will repeat those experiences with different characters through time. We'll repeat them. We'll repeat them until we see through the eyes of the heart rather than the mind. Because the mind, the egoic mind, will always choose to separate. And for those who have watched a few of my videos or even done some of the workshops, there was a couple of free workshops where we spoke about this actually. And you can find the free workshops and any other ones on my website. But it's interesting. Sorry, I can just feel someone outside. I'm not sure if they're coming here or if they're going somewhere else. They're going to a neighbour. Okay. My train of thought is gone, but let us start somewhere else. The feminine births the masculine, and the masculine seeds the feminine. And we all have egoic disposition. There is no one without ego. It doesn't exist while we're in physical form. And the egoic mind, let us phrase that differently, the conscious mind is only a very minute amount of who we are, of how we are creating. It is single digits percentage. That's the level of awareness that we have of ourselves truly, which might sound disheartening to some if we feel like we really know ourselves, or if we're really, further along, because we're comparative, we're measuring ourselves. It is the ego which measures, and it is the ego which divides. And divide and conquer only occurs outside when it's present within, yet we're all essentially groomed in this day and age to divide and conquer. That is what we're healing. And it takes great courage to be vulnerable with someone and to know that you are safe. It takes great courage to share with someone and know that there is no lack or limited resource. It takes great courage to be strong and stand up for a loved one, knowing that there may be repercussion if there is a wound active and present. But we cannot heal the wounds that we have collectively without staring them in the face, in the eyes. The feminine energy wants to bring everyone together. The feminine energy wants to heal and nurture and nourish and create strength through community and through love and through grace and through forgiveness. Build a longer table. Do not close the door. for many of us, we've had to stand in this masculine energy for a very long time. The feminine energy will always flow and fill the container she is in, so in a masculine world, she will fill that space, especially if the masculine energy hasn't been where it needs to be. And this is a collective thing. We must, if we can, start to become aware of where our mind wants to judge or compare or say, oh, it is them. Where are the men or where are the women? You know, that does not help. If we find ourselves measuring ourselves by our own level of what we perceive, our own level of integration, that does not help. Because there is no hierarchy. There is no one truth. We all have unique expression because we are source experiencing human life through all these incredible amounts, incredibly a high amount of different eyes, different expression. So why is this pertinent? Why is this important? Because I see the bigger picture in this moment to share it with you, and perhaps you see it too. Perhaps you share it better than I will articulate it. And I love that. I love that about this world. But the brotherhoods and the sisterhoods, the camaraderie of such, the coming together and building a strong force of will, of truth, what happens when we all come together? The catastrophes that Earth has specifically are there to bring us together. We create them without realizing, on a collective level, to help open our hearts, to break down those walls, to soften our hearts so that we can come together. Without competition and without ownership. It is a very interesting imprint when we feel the ownership of our words, and what I mean by that is we should always have emotion, we should always have, get my words out right, we should always have ownership of our emotions, of our actions, of our words, because when we take ownership and accountability for such, we find ourselves harmonizing quicker than ever before, because we realize what we create and we realize the impact of such. It builds our courage, it builds our confidence, it builds our heart, it builds our strength. When we do that with ourselves, when we allow ourselves to begin to self-realize, we start to open and create bridges, pathways, connections with one another. But can you imagine, can you feel, and maybe you've started to build these relationships yourself already, but let me just say, first and foremost, whatever harmony we have achieved within will be reflected without, and whatever disharmony is within, which is where most of us start, no, pretty much all of us start from, in this generation, in this day and age, if you're watching this video, at this time on Earth. Dysfunctional families were a norm, are a norm. And many of us seek to find commonality through trauma, when I say, let's find commonality through love. Yes, it's one thing to know our traumas and to acknowledge them, but then you have to heal them. You can't just wear them on the sleeves and expect a utopianic bliss of harmony and peace. If you lead with trauma, that is what will create. So let us lead with love, with courage, to connect, that we weren't meant to have this single parent, broken families, family isolation. It was always planned to be like the source of us connect, and like the nature world connects. I think, was it not only beautiful Tim who said the other day about the trees and the networks? Mushrooms do the same, plants do the same. Birds, when they fly as a flock in the sky, you see one turn and they all turn and create the most sacred pattern, because they are operating as a collective. To operate as a collective, what does that mean? Well, it means the rise of sisterhoods, of brotherhoods. It means the release of competition, the release of jealousy and resentment, the release of seeing someone embodying a relationship which you desire, even if it's in your subconscious and hidden from self. To be so aware of our emotional reactions, our emotional response, that instead of projecting it out there, we start to reflect a little within and we go, just me seeing those beautiful souls have that relationship tells me that it is close for me too. Especially if you're not feeling it in that moment. If you're not in a level of closeness like that in that moment, know that it is approaching closer and closer. Because what we see outside of ourselves, and when it gets closer, it is getting closer to our own manifestation as well. It's an interesting time and place to be on this world because, you know, as brothers and sisters, we stand up, we stand strong for one another, we stand from the heart, we do not fear the persecution of others, we do not fear speaking the truth of love, even if the voice shakes and quivers. We speak it with grace and compassion, and we stand up for one another. We show up for one another. It is an art form to learn how to communicate, and none of us really know how. We're still remembering, and even though we've been speaking for a lifetime, and many, we're still remembering how to actually talk and share, how to hold space. Oftentimes we just blurt and spill out because we do not know how to hold space for ourselves, first and foremost, let alone how to hold space or ask for space to be held from others. We're always meant to work as a cooperative, collective flow in love, as a family, and for that to return which many of us desire, that collective awakening, illumination, ascension, whatever you choose to call it, remembering, bringing those parts of ourselves back. Yes, our loved ones, our friends, our family, strangers, those that perhaps cause challenges, they are all gifting us something. They're gifting us a different expression of source energy. And when we can welcome each one of them in with the same embrace, the same loving welcome and embrace, then we start to form a beautiful flow and consciousness to be reborn here. For those that like to see the reflection for self, the family which we've been born into, everyone that I hear, every client, every friend, everyone that I hear that speaks on this level about family usually say that their childhood was challenging. And that is prevalent for all because all have been born into dysfunctioning families where trauma has led and not been healed and not been acknowledged, where it's been dismissed and bypassed and ghosted and gaslighted. So if we take on a premise that everyone on some level has imprints of wounds that are just seeking a pathway to the light, to heal, to rebalance and stabilize in love's name, then what that allows us to do is to meet one another from the heart instead of the mind, instead of judging. When someone might say or speak or do something as an expression of trauma or challenge, we can choose to receive by being aware of ourselves. By being in harmony with ourselves, we can choose to receive that as alchemy, and their alchemy needing witnessing. And so it doesn't stick to us. It is not a charge for us to adopt. We can witness and observe and hold this space under grace. This is what the new, and when I say new, it's the ancient sisterhoods are offering right now, that are starting to rebirth. But yes, as that rises, jealousy and competition and separation will occur because that is what is going on within each human being. we are remembering the inner sisterhood. So the connection and the flow and the harmony of all of our inner streams, the inner waters which flow. And for the masculine energy within us, that brotherhood, that camaraderie, that strength and force together, that creation that can happen through joint strength and focus and vision. The masculine holds the container and it holds the community. He builds it up. The masculine builds the community. And the feminine flows and connects everyone in between. We build bigger tables. And no matter how uncomfortable it feels, it is only uncomfortable for the disharmonious parts within, the parts of us which we've fragmented within self, those streams that go against one another within. It's interesting because the conscious mind, what we perceive, we look outwards with our conscious mind. The subconscious mind, which is where we primarily create from, which is where our inner child is, subconscious mind only knows itself. It doesn't know anyone other than itself. So everything that we see, everything that we think about another is a reflection of ourself, and it is created as such. Through the lens, through your own lens, you will see another and another's actions and words. And if they are speaking with such love and grace and beauty, but you cannot receive it in that way, you will never know that it is spoken with love and grace and beauty. Because the streams, the lens within, always will add a hue of you and of what is wanting to heal. So it is the rise of the sisterhoods, the rise of the brotherhoods. It's not having fear of conviction, of who you love, of your relationship. And if you see someone with a strong relationship with another, sometimes the wounded part of ourself, especially if you've had siblings, and if you haven't had siblings, if you're an only child, it shows up in a different way, but it's the same base energy. But it's the sibling rivalry and the separation and the tearing apart that cannot continue. And that karmic lesson will repeat with different characters over and over again until we respond from grace. Because when we respond from grace, when we've practiced well enough self-observation to know when we are, how we are feeling when we express, whether we're feeling love, openness, safety, content, calm, peace, or whether we're feeling prickly, constricted, like we need to defend or own or label, copyright our content. I say that as like as a joke about self, you know. Because there are many of us now receiving the wisdom of the ancients in this present ancient future, and how we phrase certain things will be similar, especially if you are on a very similar frequency to another loved one. What you say, how you express is going to be very similar whether you realize it, spoken about it, seen it or not. But the true alignment within will be evident. There's only so long we can speak the same words as another without having it embodied and harmonized within. But this is what we're here to help one another with. It's inner harmony and inner symbiosis, really. Inner sisterhood, inner brotherhood, inner family, and inner structure. And our biological family will be a good gauge for us if you are someone that wishes to kind of observe self in that way. But what is really beautiful here is we have the rise of the sisterhoods, yet we have to have the courage to not want to do it alone. We have to have the courage to open our hearts enough to let someone in, And to know that a different energy, a different source expression will inevitably only bring a stronger foundation for our families, so that we can start to remember even more so than ever before the one family which we are. We won't achieve that without as such. So weigh your words. You weigh your own heart anyway. That's where your karma is created. And it's okay if we have an emotional response and reaction. It's how we go about things afterwards. It's the courage we have afterwards, and the courage to stand in our truth and look ourselves in the eyes. Whether you can look yourself in the eyes and see yourself true and through and fully and whole. Whether you can look another in the eyes, especially one which you've been vulnerable with. It is safe to love. It is safe to let people in. It is safe to be here on earth. The more we start to choose to see from that perspective, everything else that physically contradicts in the physical timeline will drop away. But while we focus on what is not safe, while we focus on the things which we do not like, while we focus on the things which we feel oppressed or controlled or separated by, they will propagate. So choose to see that this world is safe. Choose to see that we are safe with one another. We are safe to bare our hearts. We are held in the arms of one another, and it is safe to call someone your sister or your brother. It is safe to have conviction for that relationship too. And it's more than safe, it's creation at its best. So much love to you. I feel so honored to have the sisters and the brothers that I have. Biological, non-biological. I feel so honored to have the non-biological sisters and the non-biological brothers, whom I openly call sisters and brothers. And their conviction and that reciprocity. And I hope and I wish for each one of you that you feel the strength and courage to love so openly and so fully, because that love will burn away anything which is holding you back from the life which you deserve, which is your divine inheritance. As one of my most beautiful sisters says, you are living love. And this is how we show it. We show it to ourselves first, through grace and compassion, and watch it get mirrored back. Thank you. Thank you for standing in your heart, in your womb, in your horror. Thank you for being powerfully vulnerable and creating with every breath the world which we are calling into being. Safe for our children, for one another, abundant, fruitful, collaborative, sacred, expressive, joyful, true. So much love to each one of you.